Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this very auspicious and historic event. We are today here at Pandesal Forum at 84-year-old Kamuning Bakery Cafe. We are celebrating the 5,784th year of Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year, with His Excellency Ambassador of Israel to the Philippines, Ambassador Ilan Flus. Welcome, Ambassador. Dynamic, athletic, and very energetic Ambassador Ilan Flus. Welcome, sir. Of course, we have with us here the ambassador, and of course, Israel is one of the best friends of the Philippines, sir, since the since historic times. And I researched the whole night last night about Israel. Congratulations, you're number 11 strongest country in the world. It's not very big, but it's ranked there along with US, China, Russia, number 11. And one of the technology superpowers in the world. You provide the world with a lot of high technology, from agriculture to beauty to communications. Welcome, Ambassador, to this celebration. And please explain to us here in the Philippines why Rosh Hashanah is so wonderful a tradition, historic, and we greet you, Ambassador. Shana Tova.
So, thank you very much. Wilson, for this, shall I stand up? Is it better? So, thank you for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to be actually here for the second time already. So, I feel, and I'm quite few of you are already good friends, and we're not meeting not for the first and not second time. So thank you very much. Pandesal Forum is a great opportunity because of the ambiance of the place, which is very special and very informal. Although I have my suit and tie as an ambassador, but that's protocol. And really, we came here in order to celebrate or to share with you the celebration of Rosh Hashanah. But before me talking about Rosh Hashanah, maybe let's have a short presentation on what is Rosh Hashanah, and then I'll talk more about it.
For thousands of years, Jews around the world have celebrated Rosh Hashanah, which means head of the year in Hebrew. It's a two-day celebration beginning on the first day of Tishrei, the seventh month in the Hebrew calendar. In the modern calendar, it falls between September and October. So why does a new year start on the seventh Hebrew month? Well, because God said so. And in the seventh month, on the first day of the month, ye shall have a holy convocation. According to the Bible, this day marks the anniversary of God's creation of earth. God summoned Moses to Mount Sinai and instructed him to keep the day holy. 3,000 years ago, the holiday probably wasn't called Rosh Hashanah, because those words aren't mentioned in the book of Exodus. Originally, it was just celebrated on the first day of Tishrei. In biblical times, months began when the first sliver of the new moon was visible. The Sanhedrin, or Supreme Council, would send messengers to tell people that the new month had begun, but sometimes the message arrived a day late, after the time of celebration had passed. By the 12th century, Rosh Hashanah was permanently extended to 2 days, ensuring that all had a chance to participate. Those 2 days are considered one long day. As in biblical times, Rosh Hashanah marks the beginning of the 10 Jewish high holy days that end with the Yom Kippur. It's a period of deep introspection and repentance. The devoted spend the first evening and the morning after in temple. Work is not permitted. Throughout the services, a shofar or ram's horn is sounded, alerting worshipers to God's judgment. Worshippers may practice tashlik, emptying their pockets into a body of water, symbolically casting off their sins. And as with most holidays, food plays a delicious role in Rosh Hashanah. On the first night, apples dipped in honey represent a sweet new year. Round challah bread is served, a symbol of both the circle of life and the crown of God's kingship. But most importantly, Rosh Hashanah is a time of spiritual reawakening. If the devoted truly repents for sins committed during the past year and promises to do better in the new year, perhaps, just perhaps, God will record the faithful in the book of life. The reward is another year on earth. Rosh Hashanah is even celebrated by non-practicing Jews. For them, it's a time to embrace their heritage, when friends and family gather, count their blessings, enjoy a fine meal, and wish one another Lashana Tovah, a good year.
Let me try and elaborate. So now I'm taking the role of a Jewish leader, less of the ambassador, but maybe a few words about Rosh Hashanah. It's really, Rosh Hashanah is a time of self-reflection. It's not so much like we celebrate here the New Year with fireworks and the big parties, but it's really a time for self-reflection, a lot of individual, internal sort of soul search, and what have I done wrong in the last year, or what didn't I do at all last year, and what should I have done, and making decisions for the following year. What should I do better? What should I stop doing? And putting for yourselves future goals for your life, and making your life, I would say, meaningful. And it's a beginning of those, as we said, as was mentioned, about those 10 days of self-reflection and repentance, where we end those days with the Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which is a day of fasting. So Rosh Hashanah is called the Day of Remembrance, when God is also remembering us and looking at us. And He is also judging us. And the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, is the Day of Judgment. So Rosh Hashanah is, I would say, more happier, ending 10 days later with the Yom Kippur, where actually the judgment of God is done. Are you a good person or a not good person? And this is why it's really a very, in a way, very spiritually time of soul searching and really making decisions, and also making, I would say, friends, or apologizing if you have done wrong to others. So, you know, all of us, we're all human beings, doesn't matter who you are. So it's time to correct things for the future. And for that, we have a lot of symbols. Like Filipinos, the Jews love the food. And like hospitality, the Jews love to host friends and family and eat together. So we also have very sort of festive meals together. And those meals, we have traditional foods. So we're sharing today with you some of them. So the first one is what we call challah, which you can see here. That's the traditional challah, which we use every Friday. On Rosh Hashanah, those challah are actually round. And the reason why it is round is cycle of life. And there's no, I mean, Rosh Hashanah means actually not only the new year, it's the head of the year. But actually, there's no end to time. So we make it round. But it's a time of self-reflection, but time continues. So we make it round, and that's the nature of life. They say crown of a god, and it has to be sweet. A lot of sweet food on Rosh Hashanah. And then we would have also apple and honey. As I said before, the apple is a sweet fruit, and honey, of course, is sweet. And before we eat it, before we would actually sit around the table. We do the blessing on the wine, like we do it every Jewish holiday. And then we would take a slice of apple, dip it in the honey, and we say, Yehi ratzon milfanecha, Hashem Eloheinu v'lev Avotenu, shetechadesh aleinu shana tova u'mituka. This is Hebrew, which says that we ask, oh Almighty God, please bring to us a new year, a year which is a good and a sweet year. So that's regarding the apple. But we have a lot of other customs. We have the dates, which are also, you know, they grow in the desert. Israel is actually leader in growing what we call the Majul date, which is the best sweet date, which is exported. Even with the political barriers, you would find Israeli Majul dates in all Arab countries, in Saudi Arabia. So there are no political barriers to good dates. And we eat the date because of the sweetness of the date, and because of the, again, one of those symbols for a good new year. And we also eat, I brought just one, we eat the seeds of the pomegranate. As you know, the pomegranate has inside a lot of seeds, and we pray that for this year, God will help us have so many good deeds, like so many seeds in the pomegranate. So this is about the pomegranate. And what we also do, as was said before, we blow the horn of a ram. It's called the shofar. And this is the shofar. This is a very, very ancient tradition. It connects us to a few things. If you remember the Old Testament with Abraham, who took Isaac to be sacrificed, and then God came, and of course Isaac was not sacrificed, and instead they sacrificed a ram. And this is why the horn of a ram, to remind us that we sacrifice ourselves for the will of God, so that we do what God wants us to do, and we're very committed to it. And it also reminds us the day when we received the Torah on Mount Sinai to Moses, and there were voices heard, and hearing the voice of the shofar brings us back to that time. So we actually remember on Rosh Hashanah the creation of the world, but also we remember the covenant between the Jewish people and God. And you also say that the voice here is also to remind, actually in two directions, to remind us that God, God is around, and to make us improve our ways, but it's also for God to remember us, that we are crying to Him and want Him to forgive us for the sins that we have done in the last year. If you like, I can blow it a little bit later if you like, and I'll be happy to demonstrate. Shall I? Okay. It's considered there are three different voices that will come out. One just straightforward, and then we break it, so you'll hear. We do it for many times in the synagogue, but this is basically what we do. I'm lucky enough to be the one to do it in the synagogue for the community, which is a great honor. And it's really one of the hearts of the symbols of Rosh Hashanah. We do it during prayers, and it's a very serious moment during the tefillah, the prayers. I think I talked about quite a few of those customs of Rosh Hashanah. We have all kinds of other foods usually on the table, different kind of vegetables, which the name resembles all kinds of words. One vegetable which we eat in Israel, and the name is actually, in Hebrew, is like tearing something, to tear. And we eat it and we say that we hope God will tear the negative judgment and judge us for the better. We also eat, the tradition is to eat a head of either a fish or a head of a lamb. And the idea is really that we want to be at the head and not back at the tail. So to be leaders, as you said, with on innovation and technology. The Jewish people, being a minority, living in a country of a lot of challenges, of desert, lack of water, surrounded by enemies, but also many years before, being a minority, persecuted minority in Europe, in North Africa, in all kinds of countries, and suffering a lot of persecutions. The only tool for us to be able to survive is to excelling in what we do and not sort of being back there, because then you lose everything. And secondly, it is, since you are very limited in what you can do, we became the people of the book, sort of going to the books, studying a lot, and basically putting a lot of weight on the brain, on the knowledge, and on studying, and to that excelling. So you'll see the same approach even today. Education is considered a very important value and very important way to integrate yourself into society, and most youngsters do go to university or college. Very few really drop out and do not go. So with this about Rosh Hashanah, it's also a time for us to self-reflect or to reflect on the Israel-Philippine relations. So it's the time to self-reflect, moving from Rosh Hashanah and really talking about more of the Jewish aspect of it, to talk about us as Israel, Philippines, and the relations between the two countries and the people. So when I look back at this year, it was really a very, I think, very important year for the relations. Until now, when I was talking about the relations, I always say that really the main milestone the last few years was in 2018, during the visit of President Duterte to Israel. Since then, of course, we had elections here. We had 4 elections in Israel. We are, I think, 2 elections in Israel, but of course, elections here, change of government. And also the Israeli side realized how important is the exchange of visits between leaders. And we're able to bring here the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Eli Cohen, who visited here early June. And I would like to share with you a short video which summarizes the visit, and it touches all the different aspects of the visit. Please.
He has the same name as a famous hero of Israel. Some journalists telling me.
Eli Cohen, yes,
yes.
yes. I guess the video really gave, I don't want to repeat the entire program, but quite a few action items that we have to follow up as the two governments. We have signed an agreement on collaboration in the area of environment, which is very much connected to climate change, and as we all know, that's top of the agenda. We talked about collaboration on the area of water, and I was actually 2 days ago, I was a speaker in an event of Lua, for 50 years of Lua, and I was bringing the Israeli experience, and we are going to exchange and to share the Israeli best practices, as really Israel is #1 in water management on a national level. Very little water loss and all kinds of reasons. I won't go into too many details. #2 in agriculture, and again, Israel is a leader in agriculture and agriculture technologies and agriculture production. And thirdly, on the area of security, defense, And again, this is something that Israel, I think, is very close to the Philippines, as you well know, and there's a commitment to continue this intimacy and being a reliable partner for that. We talked about direct flights between the two countries, so the governments will do what they can to facilitate, and we have done so. It's today viable, also economically, because of the possibility since the Abraham Accords, peace relations, better relations in the Gulf, and we got permission from Saudi Arabia and from Oman of overflight for Israeli airlines, which means direct flight to the Philippines becomes viable. Now it's up to El Al or Philippine Airlines to decide as a commercial company and according to the fleets and their plans to fly direct, and I hope it will happen soon. It's I think, a very important area. We had a delegation of companies in agriculture, in water, in cyber, and since then there is a follow-up, and some of the companies are already implementing together projects, especially in agriculture, which is fantastic. So I think these are, I would say, for me, the main highlights and action items out of those high-level discussions, except for the symbolic. And it is important to say, Mr. Cohen visited Quezon City, the Israel-Philippine Friendship Memorial, and giving the importance to the important historical relations between our nations and between our countries. So when we look back, so we had the visit of Foreign Minister. Yes. We had actually a very important visit here of one of the top Israeli experts in agriculture. Yes. He is the deputy head of the Volcanic Institute, which is the most important government agricultural research body, and he visited here, engaging both with government, academia, private sector, sharing the Israeli experience, and basically reaching out and offering to create partnerships. Extremely important visit, but okay. These are two important visits. We had a lot of other activities, but what do we want to do now? Okay, because Rosh Hashanah, what are the commitments for the new year which we are looking for? And for me, I would say, as you know, those who met me, you know that when I talk about my priorities, my number one priority is what I call creating bridges of innovation and technology between our two countries. As you mentioned, Wilson, Israel is number one in innovation, in technologies, and I believe that for the Philippines, this is also, and this is what I hear from the president, it's top priority. It is changing some practices, but of course, technologies to really leap forward and to become also a leader. And technologies bring amazing solutions. So we are planning a few visits from the economic side. There will be 4 economic delegations coming to the Philippines before the end of the year. It's going to be so hectic, so I don't know what I'm going to do. My team is already preparing, but we'll have 4 different, again, we're working on those. Hopefully all of them will materialize. There'll be a water roadshow, an agriculture roadshow, and also emergency response. Israel, unfortunately, has a lot of experience in this area. The Philippines is also a country which is facing challenges of natural disasters, and I believe that we can share actually both sides. We can share our experiences, and we can do a lot together. And also there will be a delegation of the Israeli Chamber of Commerce who will also be coming here. So this is and we'll have some, we have a very big event in Israel. So this is coming from Israel to the Philippines. We have in Israel the biggest agricultural exhibition called Agritech, mid-October, and we hope to see a lot of Philippine visitors coming there. We send invitations to quite a few. And that's an opportunity to see in one place and to see and discuss Israeli technologies, Israeli companies, Israeli approach, how do you, and again, dealing with all kinds of discussions and presentations on different aspects of agriculture in the next generation to come, meaning also sustainable agriculture and agriculture and climate change and the issues of that. And we also hope to have the first Israel-Philippines Joint Economic Committee meeting, where it will be the first time that we'll be meeting on ministerial level, secretary level, to discuss as governments how do we want to steer to navigate our economic relations in the future. So this will be the first, and obviously this will be an annual forum which will be meeting every year. And I believe that because, economic relations from one side, it's private sector, but government is an enabler or can be an obstacle. So we have to identify where the bottlenecks, where the problems, and where can government facilitate and make the ease of doing business. From that aspect, we're also collaborating with, and we plan to establish, hopefully this year, a partnership with the ARTA, the Anti-Red Tape Authority that visited Israel. A few months ago, we had the whole delegation looking at innovation in government, came to Israel. ARTA was there, the head of ARTA, Secretary Perez, and we are planning to establish a collaboration. I think, again, this is one of those challenges here, and if we work with them, especially on creating innovation in government, it can bring a very important approach and solution to the Philippines. I believe not in simply selling technologies. I believe in sharing practices, best practices, in sharing experiences, and in enabling our partners, in this case the Philippines, to do it yourself. Sort of we are sharing our approach, we are sharing our solutions, but at the end of the day, we need to work together to develop local solutions to the local culture, local challenges, and so on. I do want to mention an important event we had on culture, which I believe for me was very symbolic. We had, there was a festival in Manila, the Manila Improv Festival, which is a theater, improvisation theater. And there was an Israeli team, group that came here, Duda. And the festival took place, I think, 3 or 4 weeks after the passing away of Secretary Ople, which I met a few times personally, and I also knew her father, and I really respect her, and also respect very much the Department of Migrant Workers, because I think this is such an important department, such an important issue in the Philippines and for the Philippines, socially and economically. So we had a special event to commemorate the late Secretary Ople, and it was on the life of OFWs in Israel. Funny, very real, and touching the hearts. So they interviewed and they met the OFWs. We had their family come to participate in that evening, to be our guests. And for me, I think this was really a very, very important event. And we are also going to inaugurate in a few weeks' time. We participated in the Brigada Escuela, because we believe, I talked before about education and being the people of the book. And we believe education is very important, so we always participate in some way or another, and we did the same, participated in a Brigada Escuela activity in Taguig, and we're going to inaugurate very soon a mini library, which will be called the Jerusalem Learning Resource Center in Barangay Bagong Tanyag Elementary School in Taguig. I'll inaugurate it together with Mayor Lani. And again, I think this is for me an important message. You know, when we talk about, I talk about business, I talk about technology, but we also have to talk to the people and working with the people. So this outreach is always very important.
Yes.
SHAB is Israel's Agency for International Development Cooperation. which has been working in the Philippines for many, many years, and the Philippines is always one of those countries which is high on the priority for Mashav. And we have sent to Israel, I'm not sure about the number, but quite a few people for short professional training programs in areas from agriculture to environment to gender empowerment to early childhood education and to climate change. So quite a wide areas. Actually yesterday we issued a visa again for a scholar which got a scholarship to study in Israel for the next academic year on early childhood education. Again, it's an issue where Israel is a leader. Early childhood education is very, very important in Israel. So I should be going there for 1 year, which is fantastic. And then going to continue with the outreach to people would be finally renewing physical Israeli Film Festival in November. And we'll also be joining the Quezon City Q Festival, the Quezon Film Festival, and we'll be also screening there an Israeli movie. So we'll have those events, and we're also going to share. I talk about innovation, but moving from the innovation not only on the commercial side, but also on the academe. We prepared an exhibition on Israeli innovations that are implemented in the Philippines, adjusted to the Philippines and implemented here. And we'll be sharing this, showing this around in different universities in the Philippines. So in the coming year, in the coming few months and year, we're going to go around the academic institutions and share with lectures on those issues. We are going to bring in experts to hopefully to Startup Week, which is a week which is all about startups in the Philippines here in November. So we'll have an Israeli expert coming here, a guest of working together with DTI and the other relevant departments. I think, sorry? Yeah, of course. We are, Israel being a small country, but trying to support, I mentioned before about the delegation of Israeli companies who deal with emergencies. Whenever there's a typhoon here or a natural disaster, we try to reach out to the communities. In the past, after Typhoon Odette, we reached out and we brought some food supplies and water systems and solar systems to Cebu and in the Cebu area, and also to Shiragao, to Bohol, Shiragao and Dinagat. After Typhoon, what was the name? I forgot the other typhoon last year. Where there were so many floods, not so much wind, but more the floods. We actually did a joint activity with Caritas, the development arm of the Catholic Church, where we actually helped more than 50 families to rebuild their homes in Marinduque, which I knew where is Marinduque. I didn't realize how far it is from Manila. But since I believed that I have to go out to the communities, I traveled to Marinduque with my wife in order to hand over the rebuilt houses and the materials. And it was really one of the most moving visits that I had in the Philippines. And now you had the typhoons already 2 months ago, but we thought that we do not have to come in at the first response because there's a lot going on with food supplies and clothes, and this immediate response is usually very good, but then what happens in the longer run? So we are joining also Caritas to help in rebuilding, reconstructing homes in the northern part of the Philippines, and this will be happening sort of in the coming, hopefully coming few weeks. I think this is sort of, in short, what we are planning to do in the coming few months, and I'm happy to stop here and open the floor.
Yes.
But I want to add one thing, more on the personal level, if I may. Celebrating New Year here far from Israel is difficult, sort of on a personal level. So we decided to invite my family to join me. I have 4 children. So we celebrated together New Year, but of course, coming to the Philippines, we have also to see the Philippines. And I can tell you that we visited and I realized that the Philippines is such not only a big country, but so many different Philippines there is. We have Metro Manila. We have obviously the islands and the beaches. So I visited El Nido, which is amazing. But then I also visited the mountains and the northern part of the Philippines, where many Filipinos do not go.
Wow.
But we did some trekking and hiking in Sagada, in that area, on the mountain province. And then we continued to, of course, on the way through Baguio to Sagada. I don't recommend driving there, but I was able to do it. And then we continued to Ifugao, to Banawe, and the rice terraces and the waterfalls. It's also the beauty of the country and the nature and the trees and such different weather, but also different people, very different culture than what we see here. And it gave us a very interesting insights on another important part of the Philippines culture and people. And it was really an amazing, amazing visit with amazing, warm and friendly people. And it's just these kinds of visits always give us a lot of energy as foreigners. First of all, of course, for the family, as a family, it was an amazing experience. But it gives us this extra energy that we need as human beings to continue, you know, identify new opportunities and what else we can do for the Philippines in order to still really help on the economic and social aspect of talking about people to people, and of course between our 2 countries. So just wanted to share with you some of my personal experiences before Rosh Hashanah, and with this I want to open the forum, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for a very, very comprehensive and very interesting overview of dynamic Philippines-Israel relations. You have seen that His Excellency Ambassador Ilan Flus and the embassy, one of the most dynamic embassies in the Philippines, helping the Philippines economically, agriculture, defense, technology. The floor will open in the questions.
Good morning, Ambassador. Hello, good morning. I'm Mary from Radyo Pilipinas, a government radio station, and I actually asked Google for help on how to greet someone properly this holiday. And it says here, Shana Tova Umetuka. Is that right? I hope I'm saying it right, but I'm thankful that you're enjoying your visit in the Philippines so far. And my question actually is, I remember you've mentioned a while ago that one of the milestones of the Israel and Philippines relationship was when the former President Duterte visited Israel in 2018. Now that there's a new administration, has there been a formal invitation for President Marcos to also visit Israel?
Good question.
So, I mean, during the visit of Minister Cohen, of course, he met the President Marcos, Secretary Manalo, and there were many other meetings. The issue of a visit is on the table, but of course, being the President, you know, he has political priorities and a very busy agenda, so it's something to, I would say, to wait and see. And hopefully, I think at the first stage, we hope to see the Secretary of Foreign Affairs visit Israel, but again, there are no dates yet. Thank you.
And just a follow-up question, you also, can you elaborate more on the possible innovations that Israel can share with the Philippines in terms of the agriculture sector, especially the President also handling the agriculture department in the Philippines? Thank you.
Yes.
I think, I mean, you know, it's very difficult to elaborate on that because and I'll be happy if you join us when we show the exhibition where we touch some of those. But when I talk about agriculture, I talk about drip irrigation, and as I said, 2 weeks ago, we inaugurated the results of the first trial in the Philippines of drip irrigation for rice. The results are so encouraging. much less consumption of water.
What part of the Philippines?
In Batangas.
Yes.
And I can share the exact scientific information is not yet ready, but it will be ready in a few days. And I can share it with you if you send us an email. But the yield is higher, consumption of water is lower, but of course, for this you need also to invest in infrastructure, so there are different strategies how to implement it. But I would say the principle of drip irrigation in rice has been proven to be successful. Of course, agriculture is so complicated, and you know better than me the challenges that the country is facing, and we're trying to help in such a way. But more than that, we connected between private sector, and we're going to see Israeli technology and approach here implemented by Metro Pacific on dairy production.
Yes, you started it. I was there.
It's still in the process. It takes time. It takes more than a year and a half, I think, to establish. It's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of legal work. When you do something which is substantial, it takes time to build. Also the hydroponics, and so it's not only the drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is only one aspect of it. Also in poultry, since the visit of the minister, we are working actually very closely with one of the Israeli companies who is bringing here practices and technologies in poultry production here in the Philippines, which is also very important. So in many different areas, you would see a fingerprint of Israel. USEC of DA Paganiban visited Israel about 2.5 months ago for one of the conferences on food security. So again, we're sharing different practices in different areas, and we hope to see as much as possible implemented here. Thank you.
Last on my part po, the president has also been working on getting a lot of investors in the Philippines. On the Israel side, what are the areas that the investors are interested in the Philippines?
I can tell you there is Israeli interest in the Philippines in the tourism industry. We can see investments here. There's Israeli investments in some of the economic zones here in the Philippines for the different industries. We're seeing Israeli involvement here in the BPO and more of getting services for Israel done here in the Philippines. So quite a few areas, and I think also the opportunity of the visit of Secretary of DTI, Pasquale, in Israel is going to be also used a lot in order to attract more Israeli investments come to the Philippines. Thank you.
What is the schedule of Secretary Pasquale visit to Israel?
We're working on it, and I'm sure it's going to be a very successful visit, which will include government-to-government interaction, but of course also interaction and meetings with private sector and possible investors. Thanks.
That's a question.
Hi, good morning, Ambassador, and good morning, Sir Will. Alvin Pelabello from UNOTV Philippines. Sir, the Philippine government, through the DFA, has submitted and reiterated our commitment to in terms of protecting our environment and territorial waters under the International Tribunal of Law on the Sea. Now, Your Excellency, can you comment on this?
I have to say that we are not involved in the regional issues here. Israel is involved in our own challenges in the Middle East, but we are certainly, we believe that it is important that there will be sort of peaceful and friendly relations also globally, and there are quite a few conflicts these days, but I think I do not want to go beyond that. Thank you.
Good morning, Ambassador from the Philippine News Agency. You've mentioned earlier that a defense delegation will be coming from Israel to the Philippines in November. Can you elaborate more on that, sir? Who are they meeting, and what possible collaboration in that area are you hoping to have after that in defense and security?
Well, we are going to look at, first of all, existing not only projects but also commitments, and as you know, we have Israeli technologies that are being either already used or in the process of being integrated or built for AFP, all Air Force, Navy, and Army, also with the PNP and also with the Coast Guard. So basically looking at the different projects, the stages where they are, if there are challenges, trying to smooth ways, and also to discuss, this is why I cannot say now, but to discuss the next sort of modernization program, Horizon 3, and to see where we can get more involved. So these will be meetings mostly with defense officials. It's still too early, we don't have the exact day-to-day meetings, but basically this is on the agenda, and to understand what are the future technologies that there will be needed here vis-a-vis the Horizon 3, and then to see where we can integrate the Israeli-based technologies.
Sir, one last question for me in connection with that. During the visit of Minister Cohen this year, the Philippine side emphasized that the importance of promoting peace and stability. That time emphasized the importance of promoting peace and stability, as well as confidence building with key partners in this region in the context of the geopolitical environment in the Middle East and Asia. With that visit, sir, how do you think Israel and the Philippines could further work in that area?
I couldn't understand the question.
How do you think the Philippines and Israeli side could further work on that context, sir? Tackling the geopolitical environment in Middle East and Asia?
Look, I think Israel can certainly share our approach to regional security. And as you know, we have our issues in the Middle East. I think they are different than the challenges here, but the approach, I think, is very similar. The approach of, from one side, at least the Israeli approach on protecting the safety and I would say the survival of Israel. On the other hand, engaging or trying to engage with those that are open for engagement on our side. As you well know, Iran is the main threat for Israel, and currently with their plans, we don't see any room for, at least at this stage, we don't see any room for engagement with Iran, but more pressure on Iran to quit the plans to destroy Israel and to move in a different direction. But again, these are our issues in the Middle East, and we share how we see the situation, what are the lessons learned out of it. Thanks.
Mr. Ambassador, I'm Jason Rubrico of SM9 News. A while ago, you mentioned that there are several delegations that will be visiting our country in economy, agriculture, and in defense. But I'm curious, are there delegations from Israel to, particularly in education sector, to meet with the President and, of course, with Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte?
So actually, we're now in discussions with the biggest organization in Israel, which is dealing with the TVET, sort of technological, sort of vocational training, but more on, I would say, the technology and innovation. They have a chain, the biggest chain of schools in Israel, and we are planning for their visit here, probably also in November. And then when this will be, when there will be the confirmation from the Israeli side, then we'll have here meetings, obviously, with DEPED, with TESDA, and the relevant institutions. I think for me this visit would be a very important one, but this is, I didn't talk about it because it's not finalized yet, but this is exactly looking at the educational side, yes.
Sir, this will be my last question. May we ask an update on the plan of the Israel government to open direct flights between Manila and Tel Aviv? And also in the tourism sector, what are the possible partnerships with the Department of Tourism and with the Israel government? Because according to the data of Department of Tourism on the year 2020, there are only 4,745 Israeli Israeli tourist arrivals in the Philippines in 2021. Because of the pandemic, there are only 452 tourist arrivals from the Israel. So what are the plans to, to boost the said numbers? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. We have, first of all, the issue of the direct flights. As I said before, the final decision of direct flights is up to the companies. So it's not a decision of a government. A government is an enabler in this case. We have done our sort of all the efforts from the Israeli side, which are overflight over Saudi and Oman, which make the flight possible vis-a-vis time on air and profitability. And we believe it will be very profitable. There are also packages of support for marketing and things like that. And this is a commitment of both governments, the Philippine and Israeli government, to facilitate direct flights. And we are speaking to the two companies, and hopefully other El Al or Philippine Airlines will make a decision. But again, that's an economic, operational decision of the airlines. And they have their own priorities, they have an issue of fleets and things like that. But certainly as an ambassador, this is high, very high on my agenda, because direct flights means easier access and mobility and movement of people. I have to say that when you compare access today than to 2019, today is much easier because you have flights via since the Abraham Accords were signed during the pandemic. You can fly to Israel via Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Manama. So, and there are so many flights a day between Tel Aviv and the Gulf. So there are so many possibilities, and flight is shorter and easier now compared to what it was 4 years ago. And finally, regarding tourism, we hope to sign an agreement of cooperation in tourism. We're in the final stages of the negotiations, and we hope to be able to sign it, I would say carefully, maybe before the end of the year, but this is something that is still being discussed between the two governments. We are going to have a few roadshows still this year in tourism, and sort of operators will be coming to the Philippines and meet their counterparts here. You know, Israel is not only technologies, it is the Holy Land, and it is in the bucket list. And you were there 27 times, right? I think so.
Yes, one person, 27.
27 times, am I correct? So a lot of interest to visit Israel, and I believe a lot of opportunities. But I can tell you that Israelis are also very interested in the Philippines. And when I was traveling, I saw so many Israelis around. Israelis also investing in the tourism industry in the Philippines, and I know that there are Israelis busy in that industry in most of the popular destinations in the Philippines, from El Nido to Boracay to other places. So you see, and you will see even more Israelis in the Philippines. It was also The Survivor, what's the name of the program, that was filmed here in the Philippines. Yes. The Survivor, which created a lot of interest in Israel to visit the Philippines.
Have you met any Philippine Airlines people yet about possible target dates?
No, we were in discussions. Again, we were in discussions, but as I said, they have to make a decision of this kind for a company, is a heavy decision, and when you decide, that's it. You are into it with a lot of investments. So we have to be very careful in balancing between the role of government and the decision-making of a company. But I can tell you, we had discussions on the very high level with both companies, but at the end of the day, it is up to them to make decisions.
Thank you.
Inquirer, just a picture of the trade picture between the Philippines and Israel. How much is the total trade, the value in dollar terms, and then do you see it increasing in 2023 over 2022? And then the last of those three related, what are the, I guess, products that have a high possibility of being brought into the Israeli market, and the opposite way? So what are we looking at the trade?
So the trade net last year surpassed $500 million, which is a big increase So we see that the trend is that it's increasing, the trade between the two countries. For that reason, we opened an economic office in the embassy here, which was actually inaugurated. A new part of the embassy was inaugurated during the visit of the minister, with the new offices of the Israeli Ministry of Economy in the embassy. And there was also a new economic attaché posted to Tel Aviv by the Philippine government. So the two governments have identified that there are a lot of commonalities and complementaries between our two economies, and we are investing to make trade, the volume of trade much higher, trade and investments both. So the figure is growing, and we're very optimistic. It's up to us to, and this is, I think, the job of the embassy, is to open the doors, to show the opportunities, but then, as I said before, private sector is the one to do business, not us. We have to facilitate. We signed last year an agreement on promotion and protection of investments, which is, again, part of those tools that will make it safer and encourage businessmen to do business. By the way, we are also in the process of joining the Asian Development Bank, which is, the headquarters are in Manila, and that's also a message to the region. We are sort of in the final stages. We're not in yet, but we're in the final stages, and still some work has to be done, but we are there in that strategic direction, which I think gives a very strong message to the Philippines and to the region. I believe if we look at the economic relations, we have to take into account also the OFWs in Israel.
How many?
Okay, which we opened a new sector last year for OFWs in Israel only to the Philippines, which are the hotel workers. That's a new sector. Hotels were restricted only for Israeli workers, but due to lack of workers in that industry, the decision of the Israeli government was to open it up for the Philippines only. And we have now 2,000 Filipino, or it's on the way to become 2,000 Filipino workers. We have now 1,000 plus, but gradually the numbers are growing. And at this stage, up to 2,000 Filipino workers in Israel. And I have to say that we have all the workers in Israel are fully protected by law. They get all the rights, if it is pension fund, if it is medical insurance, if it is weekends, extra hours. The workers are fully protected, and there are both government emergency lines and NGOs that are very busy to make sure they get basic salary according to Israeli standards. From what we hear from them, and one of them personally used to work at the embassy and is now working in Israel, and we're getting from her like personal reports, extremely happy, and that she did the move, and from the treatment and that she's receiving, the tips she's getting from guests. So she's very happy. And I think this is also an element when we talk about the economic relations. As I said before, OFWs is very important for the Israeli society, and it's very important for the Philippine economy. As we know, the remittances, and we're also trying to work to make remittances cheaper for the OFWs. I'm now working with the biggest Israeli NGO to try to create better delivery ways to send the money back home in order to save the costs.
That's good news.
The last question about the products that you think have great potential for export to Israel.
Well, I think, look, the Philippines is exporting to Israel until now agricultural products, food products, and also I think different parts of electronics because of doing different either assembly, the BPO services or doing services for Israeli companies. And I think on this part, there's still a lot of potential. And I think also the services there's a lot of opportunities in the Philippines, although the Philippines needs still to, since Israeli companies are very high on the technology, but human power, human labor in Israel is very expensive, so the Philippines can become an alternative for other countries where we do the outsourcing of software development and so on. But of course, the need is for quite high level engineers or programmers, and that's again an area of opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Your Excellency. I'm Badet Kunanan from Manila Bulletin. With Israel emerging as a global leader in agriculture, what friendly advice can you share with our Agriculture Secretary, who happens to be our President, related to the rice crisis that have been confronting the Philippines?
Well, thank you for this landmine, which I'm not going to step on it. You know, the Israeli, I'm always very careful. When I was talking about my goals is to share the Israeli approach, the Israeli experience, and the Israeli solutions. But the situation in Israel is very different than here. It's so complicated. Number two, Israel is a territory of one land. We are not an island country like the Philippines. We're a small country of 9.5 million people. So we are facing our challenges of drought, of not enough water, not enough soil, very expensive labor. So some of the solutions are extremely relevant for the Philippines. Some may be too expensive. Some better to invest in something expensive, which will be which have long life, than something cheaper, which will, you know, after 1 or 2 years will not work anymore. But anyway, these are smaller details. So, and the third aspect is that we are not a grain country. We import the grains. We grow high-value crops, fruits, vegetables, things like that. Rice, wheat, we have to import. We are too small for that. So, in agriculture sector, you have to understand the global environment, because we are also dependent on global supplies. On the other hand, to try to do, and I think this is the approach of the government, as much as possible local, sort of local supply and local production. And we are here to share our experiences, and what is relevant is up to the Philippine government, and we'll be happy to share it with them. Thank you.
Shalom, Ambassador. I am Nena Benito from CBN Asia in Malaya. And I'd like to greet you, Kama, Katima, Tova. May your name be inscribed in the Book of Life. That's a second greeting, right? In Israel. I was there when President Duterte gave a press con at the Ramadan, and he did say that Filipinos working in Israel are the luckiest in the Middle East. He said, I wish all Filipinos could work here. Of course, I don't know how you would handle that. But I'd like to know, why are Filipinos preferred for the hotel workers?
Why the only country?
Yes, than other countries. And I understand that you now have benefits, which means vacation leaves, medical insurance, and I think we are entitled to celebrate our holidays, including Israeli holidays. Is that right? Anyway, yes, please.
I don't call it benefits. I call it basic rights. Okay, yes. You have X amount of working days, and it's up to the person. If he wants to work overtime or to work in the weekend, he has to be paid accordingly. 125%, and 50%, whatever it is, and that's fully, it's monitored by government. And if people are not obeying, then the Filipinos can complain. But we have labor laws in Israel. And the Filipinos, the OFWs in Israel, are under the Israeli law of labor. And that's, for us, very basic. So these are not benefits. These are basic rights which we have to give to anybody who is working in Israel. The reason for opening up for the hotel workers only for the Philippines is due to the close relations President Duterte's visit to Israel, which was a very important political message, and I would say also appreciation of Israeli employers of the good working standards of Filipinos. Again, we have to understand that the caregivers are living in the homes of our elderly, including my father-in-law as a caregiver from the Filipina, and they are part of our families, and they are good and reliable. So there's a very good image of Filipinos in Israel. Actually, when you say a caregiver in Israel, you would say a Filipino. Doesn't matter if it's somebody coming from Moldova or Sri Lanka or India, but we say Filipino. Do you have a Filipino? That's another word for caregiver. And that from the positive aspect of it, that the Filipinos are very much appreciated. They speak good English, take good care, and everything else. And so a combination of really appreciation for the good work, and due to close relations between people to people and political message, we decided to open up the caregiver, the hotel industry only for the Philippines. And as I said, it's a limited number at first stage of 2,000, and then according to the needs of the industry, they might decide to increase in the future, I don't know.
One of the biggest problems is the big cost of going to Israel because of the travel agencies who charge so much. But I hear that you have put it down. Thank you so much for that. I have another question. When I was there, President Duterte thanked Prime Minister Netanyahu for being so crucial to ending the war in Marawi. I am very curious about
very
that.
interesting.
What did you do to help end the war in Marawi?
What did you help in the Malawi anti-terrorism war?
Let's leave things as they are, but I just have to say that I'm happy, as I said before, that I feel proud as Israeli ambassador that the Philippines trust the Israeli technologies and the Israeli platforms to help them in their efforts to bring peace and stability into the Philippines. This is what I think I can say.
Very interesting.
Yes. No, we know there are drones. We know there are fast patrol boats. We know there are different kind of accurate weapons. We know there are air defense systems. So it's not a secret, and I participated in inauguration of those technologies. And it's not a secret. We will not go to specific operational things, but I have to say that Israeli technologies are combat proven because we use them in Israel.
Shalom, Ambassador. My name is Jay Mante, or Jasper John Makigad of DCMS Media and for Margo TV. I have consolidated question. My consolidated question is, what is the uniqueness of Rosh Hashanah to the typical New Year celebration here in the Philippines? And also, in the health sector, what do you recommend?
On the health sector?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to say that the Secretary of Health is a graduate of, of Mashav, of the Israeli Development Agency, has been to Israel, and I'm very proud. So I'll just first the second question. In Israel, we believe a lot in digital, and digital health is extremely important. We saw this when we were dealing with the pandemic. So digitalization is very important. Community health is also very, very important, and you can combine these two in a very effective way. So I would say, of course, training and everything else. I'm not, but and by the way, we are trying to also help in some introducing Israeli methods in the training of nurses here, which is very important also for the economy here and for the domestically and OFWs. But as I said, digital health is very important in Israel. I don't want to go into the details, but sometimes the doctors complain that they are too long on the computer and putting data in the computer, but at the end of the day, when the data is there, you can actually do so much more. And community health and preventive health is critical and actually makes things different on the national level. And thirdly, home hospitalization is the Israeli approach today to have less people going to hospital because of all kinds of, you can get contaminated and all kinds of bacteria. So I think I would say that, and this would be my main sort of response to that. On Rosh Hashanah, as I said, in Israel, it's not a time of big celebrations, of fireworks and parties and dancing and so on. It's more introspective. It's a very serious, and you actually, it's correct. When we bless each other, we say a happy new, sweet and new year. And the second part of the blessing is ktiva v'chatima tova. When you be written and sealed in the book of life. So it is a lot of work internally on being a better person, being a better human being to the future, and also as a community, how we can do better. And I can tell you, the president of the Jewish community, during the prayers of Rosh Hashanah, stood up in the synagogue and talked about some of the initiatives of the community, which is very small in the Philippines. It's a very small community, but about their initiatives, which one of them is due to the relationship with the embassy and adopting the Lor Vicuna Foundation, which is a foundation which works with girls that have been taken out of home due to being sexually abused, all kinds of challenging. And we as an embassy have are working closely with this foundation and with the girls. And we propose to the Jewish community to join, and the Jewish community will also join. So basically, it's also a time of what can you do better for society. And as I said, do good things. That's the thing of Rosh Hashanah.
Father Rabba.
Thank you.
Thank you. What can you, Ambassador, the Jewish people and Israel have achieved remarkable success against incredible difficult odds. Can you give us 3 success factors behind the endurance and the inspiring success of the Jewish nation to 2,000 years of exile and adversity to inspire the Philippines? Maybe top 3 reasons that you can think of.
That's a very tough question.
Yes.
I would say, look, I'm an Orthodox person or religious person, so I would say number 1 is believe in God, which I think the Philippines, inspiring. And when I come here and so many events start with the prayers,
yes,
and it's something that myself on a personal level I really appreciate a lot, but we have to remember that Israelis today, yes, 80% of Israelis are what we call secular, so that they don't practice religion. They are would do some traditions, but not fully observant. But I would say, from one side, they believe in God, but believe in God means also keeping, praying, and remembering our homeland, our people, our God, our people, and our homeland, and our Bible. That was sort of keeping us together as a minority, as a community, and sticking to the tradition, sort of through that, keeping to the traditions. So this is, I would say, one thing. Second thing, as I said before, I do believe that being the people of the book,
yes,
and not focusing only on the business, but really focusing on the meaning. And studying, I think, gave us a very powerful tool to survive. So survival is not only physical, it's also spiritual. And by that, you can overcome the physical challenges and difficulties. And thirdly, I would say, is by identifying, first, you rely on yourself, but you need to create friendships and partnerships. Hopefully it will pay off. Doesn't always pay off, but never giving up on establishing partnerships with people who share those values. For that reason, until today, we commemorate and remember individuals who risked their lives to save
yes,
Jews during the Holocaust, and they get a title of Righteous Among the Nations from the Yad Vashem, the official Holocaust Memorial Museum in Israel. And for that reason, we remember until today what President Quezon did allowing 1,300 Jews escape Nazis, escape Europe in 1938, and they have a safe haven here in the Philippines. So we also have a memory, and we identify who are our, I would say, friends and the partners, and work together. And this is something that the State of Israel still does, of course, until today. Let me, I think, stop here with these messages, and I want to sort of end this engagement. I'll be happy to talk to you also individually, but I want to propose
Yes, a toast.
a toast,
A unique toast.
a unique toast of
Not with liquor, but with sweets.
but with apple and honey. I think most of
Yes.
you, maybe you ate it already. My apologies. I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope we still have some to toast.
I didn't.
We still have apple here, Ambassador.
So
Can you
okay.
explain the meaning of apple and honey? Why?
So again, apple is a sweet fruit,
Yes.
which is affordable also, and honey, of course. Israel as a land of milk and honey. By the way, today we say milk and honey and wine because we do also a lot of good wine in Israel.
You also export wine?
Yes.
Wow.
Also to the Philippines. Another shipment is supposed to arrive end of October.
Wow.
Yes.
What, is it the first
Not
shipment?
by embassy, but a
Is this the first
businessman.
shipment?
No.
Wow.
No. So, but anyway, and honey, as we said before, to make it a new sweet year. So I want to wish you Shana Tova Metuka, a happy new and sweet year, and Ktiva v'Chatima
Yes.
Tova, may you be sealed in, written and sealed in the book of life. Thank you very much, and Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Yes, wow. So you have a lot of peace in Israel. Very good honey.
Most on the honey, if I may, most of you know that this is my second posting to the Philippines.
Oh.
In my first posting in the 90s, we did here a training program for Filipinos on honey production. A Jewish NGO had a project in La Union, working with a women organization to create sources of an income. They sent a few people to this training program, which after that led to them becoming one of the businesses that was manufacturing honey.
Wow.
So using Israeli know-how, and they were able to make a very good income from honey due to the Israeli knowledge.
Sweet success.
So
Can we invite the media friends to join you, Ambassador, for a group photo? We have a tradition here, Pandesal, the most popular bread in the Philippines, eaten by ordinary people and up to the elite. Yes, yes, to Israeli and Filipino bread. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador. Congratulations. Happy New Year. Yes, we'll have a group photo with Ambassador and a video greeting in the Jewish greeting.
Small land, but big story. So what we have something a little bit innovative is a photo album, but a small photo album of a big people.
Wow. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. I love books. Wow. What are top 3 tourist spots in Israel everyone in the world should go to in Israel? Top 3. I know there are many more. Can you mention top 3, Ambassador? Top 3 tourist spots in Israel.
Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, the house of the ambassador.
Wow. Yes, I heard that your house is beside the farm. Thank you very much. Thank you. Shana Tova.